The Litchfield Educational Foundation is a private nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting the teachers, staff, and students of the award-winning Litchfield Elementary School District. In addition to hosting the annual Pride Awards, where we recognize the best of Litchfield's teachers and staff, we also work to improve our schools and increase community engagement in education. As part of that, the foundation hosts the School Board Candidate Forum. Thank you to the 3 candidates for their willingness to submit themselves for the election and for participating in our forum this evening. While we have 3 candidates, you may notice that there are 4 names on the ballot. There's an important note from Maricopa County Superintendent Steve Watson. Suzanne Lang has withdrawn from the race due to ineligibility. So she will appear on the ballot, but she is ineligible and those votes will not be counted. So we'll get to the discussion, but first, a friendly reminder of the ground rules. The forum will begin with opening remarks by the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. The order was randomly decided before the forum. Opening remarks will then be followed by prepared questions that will be asked of members of the LASDF board. Questions were selected from current events, questions submitted online, and others submitted by board members. The foundation is responsible for the selection of the questions that will be asked, and no live questions will be asked from the audience. Each round of responses will be rotated in order. Each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to respond to questions, and each candidate is allowed a 30-second rebuttal if needed. If you'd like that opportunity to rebut, please let me know. There is a timekeeper position so that the candidates can see how much time they have left. We will ask candidates to respect that time. The forum will end with an opportunity for each candidate to do 2-minute closing remarks. To the audience, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your willingness to learn more about the importance of our local schools and about these candidates. We will ask you to maintain decorum and refrain from cheering or any other disruptive behavior. And now on to the introductions. The first one to introduce will be Mr. Ryan Owens. Go ahead.
Thanks, Paul. First, I would like to thank the foundation for all that you do to help support the teachers, staff, administration of LESD. That work is needed and appreciated, and I look forward to working with you very soon. I'd also like to thank you for this opportunity to speak as a candidate. Right now is the perfect time for this. Most of you, if you're on the Pebble, you've received your early ballot. Some of you may have already voted, but right now is the time to vote and make that decision. And so we've got 3 candidates to choose from. If you know me personally, or if you've read about me, you know that I was born and raised in the West Valley. I'm a son of a police officer, and my mom was my school nurse growing up. After law school, I moved back to Arizona and decided to settle in the West Valley where I was raised, and I'm proud to be a Verrado resident out in Buckeye. My wife of 10 years and our 2 daughters live right down the street from Litchfield Elementary School District, and I'm looking forward to the day where I get to walk my daughter to school and see her go off and play with her friends and learn. And which leads me to why I'm running for school board. Teachers' jobs have never been harder in the history of education. The responsibilities, the tasks that they are asked to perform on a daily basis has never been greater. And I want to support our teachers and prioritize programs and curriculum to make sure that teachers can focus on teaching and students can learn. I'm also a parent of 2, like I mentioned. I want to make sure as a parent advocate that every parent or guardian of a child who attends LESD knows that when their child goes to school, they're receiving the best education possible with the programs and curriculum designed to educate them and help them to develop as a child. Thank you.
I didn't know it was going to be that loud. I apologize. Ms. Moran is next.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Kimberly Moran, and I'm asking for your vote to continue serving the students, teachers, staff, and community of Litchfield Elementary School District. President, I have a proven track record of thoughtful, strategic, and collaborative leadership on fiscal responsibility, transparency, and accountability. I was certified public accountant with 25 years of experience in auditing, insurance, and compliance. I currently manage here in Little Park. Applicable financial management skills make me the most qualified candidate to analyze, interpret, and monitor district ongoing Personally, I am passionate about our community and believe in the positive impact of social service. I have lived in the West Valley for years and in the park specifically for over 22 years. I recently operated my 25-year university with that. I am a mom to 3 children who all exclusively attended Litchfield Elementary School. In fact, my youngest is graduated in Western. I have served as leadership, committee member, and volunteer for the teacher organization since 2008 in the district. Prior to joining the governing board, I served as treasurer of the District Educational Foundation, our gracious host school event. I've given countless hours in the past 15 years in vascular education organizations to be equality, the volunteer organization that supports local school funding issues. Our volume override for the Avondale Elementary, Elementary School, and Elementary School districts. I've also served on the board of the Center for Domestic Violence Shelter and the Church of Children. I want to continue as an individual government board member to serve the students, families, and community, not springboard into certain politics. A vote for Kimberly Moran is a vote to strengthen our schools. Thank you.
Is there any way we can get that quieter? Sorry, guys. That is very stressful. Dr. Dowling?
Yes, I too want to thank everybody for being here tonight, taking time out of your busy days and to support the school district and your interest, especially your interest in the school board race. I've lived in the West Valley since 1976. My wife and I left the Marine Corps that year, and we moved back to her hometown, Phoenix, Arizona, and we've been here ever since. We've raised 4 children who attended public schools in Arizona. I have 9 grandkids who are all, well, actually the youngest one's still in preschool, but 8 of them are in public school. And the reason I'm running not only is because I'm concerned about our kids. I really am. I'm worried, I'm concerned about what they're being taught and more importantly, what they're not being taught. I'm sincere in that belief. I really am. I was a classroom teacher for over 7 years. I was a school and a district level administrator for a total of 30 years in education in Arizona. As a Marine Corps officer, I led Marines in combat. I managed people in private business. And I want to bring that experience in the private world and also in my educational experience. I'm the only one up here who's a certified educator. I participated in 25 different school budgets, school year budgets, 25. No one else up here has done that. And I want to ensure that our kids are getting the best that they can possibly get in the classroom. I support our teachers. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know the ups and downs and the thrills and the disappointments. I just would appreciate your vote. Thank you. Well, that's pretty good.
Okay, the first question, and Paul, who was it that drew the first name? Who will be answering this first?
Mr. Owens will be first.
Mr. Owens. Okay. You're first again, 2 times in a row. So my question for you is, what motivates you to want to become a board member? And the second part of that question is, what qualities, behaviors do you think the board member should exist?
Yeah, there's lots of motivators. Honestly, the 2 biggest motivators I see every day when I wake up, and that's my daughter Harper and it's my daughter Ryan Marie. Being educated through a public education system, I understand the value of public education and that every child should have access to a quality education. And so wanting to make sure that those 2 children, and that's a selfish want, those 2 children receive the best education possible is something that impacts every parent, because if I'm a parent advocate for my own children, that means I'm going to be a parent advocate for your children as well, because we have to make sure that we have quality education. And it's not a matter of coming in and wanting to reform everything. There's so many amazing teachers in this school district and administrators who want to make sure that they are being able and have the tools necessary to teach. There's been a lot of things that have happened on this stage that are not reflective of what a board member should ever, how a board member should ever behave. You must be respectful. We're adults. We're up here to make decisions for young children. We should be the example that they need and require in their lives. There should be no arguing. Some of the rhetoric and words that have been used up here, I completely disavow.
Can you repeat the question, please, Kat?
Bet, what motivates you to become a board member or to maintain your board member position? And what qualities and behaviors do you believe that board members should exhibit?
Yeah, my primary motivation to continue serving as a board member is my passion for public education. So as I mentioned earlier, all three of my children came up through this district, and I have one child who is still attending this district. So I have a great level of care for this community and for the schools. And I particularly know that these next 4 years are going to be critical to the future of this district, because there are a few things that are going to be happening. There's going to be some changeover in the leadership of this district based on the timing of our current superintendent and her potential plans for retirement. There is going to be a changeover and an end and hopefully new beginning to a new strategic plan. Our strategic plan that we have in place right now will expire in 2024. And above that, we still are making up for the loss in academics that is impacted from the pandemic. So I'm really eager to see not only us recover to where we were and then grow beyond that based on some of the new programs that we have in place and the supports that we have in place for that. I agree with Mr. Owens that there have been many things that have happened on this dais that are disappointing, and that it is up to us, when we know better, to do better.
As I stated earlier, those people that know me, and there's some people out here who have known me for a long time, probably my wife, we're about, we've been married about 46, hope I got it right, 47 years. I was close. Don't hold it against me. But I am passionate about one philosophy. All students, and capitalize all students, can learn given enough time and support. They can get there with working together. And I'm talking about everybody in this room working together. We can get our kids to where they need to be. My philosophy is, by the end of each school year, every one of our students are capable and competent to go to the next level. They understand expectations. They understand the culture, what's expected of them. Without high expectations, you won't get the best results. We have to challenge our kids. Not all kids are going to get there at the same time. We know that. Just not going to happen. But time is nothing more than a variable. We just need to get our kids to where they need to be, get back to achieving, get back into academics, reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and technology, and get our kids to where they need to be.
Okay, excuse me. Question number 2, do you think education in our community is heading in the right direction or wrong direction? Why? Mr. Owens?
Ms. Moran.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I wholeheartedly believe that we are headed in the right direction. As I've stated publicly before, we at the Litchfield Elementary School District prioritize academics, and that is evidenced by a couple of different programs that we've put into place recently. Within the last 3 years, we have implemented full district-wide ELA, which is English Language Arts, Reading and Writing curriculum, as well as this year, we are currently in the process of implementing a new math curriculum program. So our primary focuses remain on reading and math. We do have other academic subjects that we teach, of course, and we have a layered approach usually to that. If we're in a social studies class, we're learning some things that complement reading and writing. If we are in a science class, we're learning things that complement math potentially. In addition, to make up for some of the loss that we have experienced, the Litchfield District has put into place specific summer school programs, tutoring programs, some mentoring programs, and we continue to take not only ESSER funds, but also some available funds that we have otherwise to focus on academics. And I will continue to monitor the effectiveness of those programs and ensure that they are giving us the most bang for the buck.
Yes. I think that the Litchfield Elementary School District can be and should be a school district, a destination school district. Now, what does that mean? It's a school district in which parents move here for one purpose. They rent homes here, they buy homes in our school district because of our schools and the culture that we have and the academics that we've shown in the past. What we've done over the last summer, which we had almost 1,000 kids, I think it was 800, 900 kids in the summer boost tutorial program. Those kind of programs, we need to continue those. We need to have them throughout the school year. We have people in this room that were retired educators, retired engineers, lawyers. Let's tap into that resource. Let's bring them together. Let's open our doors up so we can do this together. Don't close our doors, open the doors. Let the community people that want to help us. We can use those people as mentors, as tutors, however else we can. By the same token, we can't add programs continuously that overwhelm and burden the teacher in the classroom. We've got to have a fine line between that. And so our teachers can teach kids to get them to where they need to be academically.
Would you mind repeating the question for me, please?
Do you think education in our community is heading in the right direction or wrong direction? Why?
Yes, I do believe that the education in our communities going in the right direction. I think having attended and watched every single board meeting since for the last couple of years, the curriculum, the measures that are being put into place are to help promote and make up for learning loss. Something I alluded to earlier, teachers' jobs and responsibilities have grown significantly. So the curriculum may be there and the intent to improve the education and the performance of our students may be there, but is it actually happening? Are there things that are limiting our students' potential? Is it distractions? Is it other students who may take away from the learning potential of others? We have to be able to identify ways to make sure that every child is able to advance at their own rate, because if a child's being held back from reaching their full potential, then that's an issue. Other children are going to need additional help and they're only going to get so far, but we need to make sure that every child has that opportunity. So I do think the curriculum's not the issue. I think it's the extra programs that are a distraction to learning.
Thank you. All right, the next question was submitted by Michael Finnegan. What are your top 3 concerns that the LESD school district board should be acting on? And Dr. Dowling, you go first.
Student achievement, top 3? Was that top 3? Student achievement, student achievement, student achievement. Take it for what it is. We need to ensure that our students are given the opportunity to be successful when we are required by law to take the Arizona State Assessment. We can't continuously compare ourselves to, well, we scored higher than the state average. Well, that's good. That's very good, but that's not good enough. That's not good enough. We need to make sure that we have one of the highest academic achieving districts in the metropolitan area, not just the West Valley. We compete very well in the West Valley. We have to ensure that we're competitive across the board. If we become complacent, if we feel that we're comfortable with being good, all right, fair, you'll never achieve greatness. You'll never get there. If you are just complacent for where you are, you'll lose sight of what it takes to become great, and we can do that. And
So sorry, again, top three.
Top three concerns that the school board should be acting on.
Perfect. I think it's not unique to LESD. The learning loss due to COVID and school closures is a nationwide issue. So I think that's number one priority. With that, number two is after you make up for that learning loss, number two, how do we make sure that our students are then advancing, right? So they're should be here, they're down here, let's get them there, and then let's help them continue to grow. So that way they're proficient to the grade level that they're at and they're ready to advance to the next level. And then number three, I think that we need to ensure that every program, every piece of curriculum that we implement into LESD has quantifiable, tangible evidence of its effectiveness. You can't just adopt a program. Last board meeting, the discussion of conscious discipline, SEL. Was it effective? Was it working? In order to determine Principal Gunning's performance review. This program has been in place for 7 years. There's no quantifiable, tangible evidence whether or not it's working. I'm not saying it's not, but we have to now hire an outside vendor to come in and determine whether or not conscious discipline has been working for the last 7 years in order to determine Principal Gunning's performance. How is it that we have a program in place for 7 years and there's no evidence of whether it's working or not other than anecdotal? So we have to check and make sure that our programs are working and they're effective.
Ms. Moran?
Yes. The top issue that the district is facing and that the board needs to address is obviously academic achievement. We all agree on that. The pandemic did impact that negatively. As I mentioned earlier, we put various programs in place. We're going to continue to monitor those programs and improvements. And based on the most recent test scores, progress is being made, but there's still much work to do. So thank you to our dedicated teachers and staff for the work that has been, the progress that has been made so far. Another important issue that we have that is, again, not unique to LESD is understaffing. As a board, we increased our minimum wage for the district to $15 an hour. We've increased pay for student transporters and food service, transportation, et cetera, but we still have job openings that are available. So we're trying to close the gap, but that has not yet fully been closed. And that's another issue from the pandemic. The other issue that we're facing is funding, and that's a longstanding issue here in Arizona, poor funding of public education. I am particularly proud of Litchfield's usage of funds in 3 areas. Number one, we consistently have higher than average classroom spending compared to our peer districts. We have consistently lower than average administrative spending. That's money that we spend on administrators. And we have higher than average teacher salary. So that's really helped us in relation to the teacher shortage. Our average teacher salary in the Litchfield district is $6,600 higher than the average teacher salary in Arizona. So I hope to continue those programs that are working and work on those that we need to have more progress in.
Okay, Ryan, Mr. Owens, you'll be the first to answer this. Do you support or oppose the Litchfield Elementary School District override continuation that is currently on the ballot? And what is your opinion of bonds and overrides as a funding mechanism?
Yep, great question. I'm glad that I get to set the record straight. There's been a lot of information disseminated recently by various groups and individuals. False information designed to intentionally mislead voters. I have always been in favor of the override. You can check any post, any conversation, any previous forum. I have always been in favor of the override with 0 contingencies. Anything other than that is a lie. So now that we're clear on that, obviously overrides and bonds are a necessity based on how schools are funded in Arizona. legislature decided to fund it a certain percentage, and they said, if you want more, you've got to go to your tax base. And I understand that. As a conservative, you have no better control of where your tax dollars go than through a bond or an override, because you can say, yes, I want to pay additional taxes, or no, I don't. And so I am in favor of the override. It's not an increase in your taxes. I'm in favor of it. I encourage everybody to support it and vote yes. And after this, if you're in favor of the Agua Fria override or want to ask any questions, there's going to be a mixer at Mikhail's. You can get all your answers and get your questions answered there.
Ms. Moran?
Yes, I unequivocally support the Litchfield override, as evidenced by my over 15 years of volunteer service with the Political Action Committee that has supported the overrides and bonds in not only the Litchfield district, but also the Avondale district, which I have not had any students in attendance. I have given countless hours of service to that organization to make sure that they are successful and that their most vulnerable students get the funding that they need in their district, as well as with the Agua Fria school district. There have been bonds and overrides for all three of us over the past 3 years, and we have created a mutually beneficial relationship that has generally been successful. And I am very grateful to our voters for their local support, because it is true that our funding is not where it should be. And as local voters, the way that we can help to control that, there is a limit on the cap that we can ask for, is to ask our local communities to support us. And we have been very fortunate that our local community has gone to support that. A few years ago, we increased the override from 10% to 15%. And as a board, we made a commitment that that additional 5% would go directly to teacher salaries. And it has. In fact, on our teacher pay stubs, there is a direct line that says 5% M&O override. And that money has gone directly to teacher salaries. So again, I am grateful to our community for their continued support.
Dr. Dowling?
Yeah, I too would like to clarify something that's gone around about my support for or against the override. In public meeting here, as a board member, I voted in favor of taking the 15% override to the voters. I made a statement during the meeting asking the finance director, the superintendent, if we get additional state funding, state aid, if we get additional state aid, is there any way that we can spend less than the 15? Can we spend 14? Can we spend 13? Can we spend 12, 11, or 10% of that money? And that was my only thought, is to relieve somewhat the burden of the taxpayers, if possible. I'm in favor of the override. If you've seen, I don't know how many of you have been out early in the morning. I've been putting up campaign signs, repairing campaign signs, and I've been repairing the override signs. I haven't seen any other board member do that. I've been out there in 98-degree heat. And I thank God this is a general election, because I've been out there putting up signs in primaries at 115. So there's a big difference. But I support the override. If at all possible, if we can do a little bit less than the 15, I'd like to see that happen in the school district to give a little bit of relief to our taxpayers, and I'm one of them. Thank you.
Okay, question number 5. What responsibilities do board members have regarding advocacy?
Well, as board members, we are the local representatives for the most local type of representative for our constituents. So I believe our role in advocacy comes down to educating ourselves on how the legislature works and how we can help to potentially influence the lawmakers to create laws that are going to benefit our students. Funding is a huge issue. Funding is broken in Arizona, and I really hope that one or more of our legislators or committees down at the state could get their act together and work on the funding issue. In addition to that, one of the biggest roles of the board is policy adapting of current policies and adoption of new policies based on laws that are put in place by our legislators. So we need to understand how those laws impact us and then how we need to make sure that we're adhering to those laws to make sure that we're in compliance with state expectations.
Dr. Dowling?
Would you repeat that question again? I didn't quite get it.
What responsibilities do board members have regarding advocacy?
The function of the school boards provide for citizen involvement and be representative of the community, be responsive to the community, all of the community, retirees, parents, doesn't make any difference. Everybody is a taxpayer. We have to be responsible academically and also budget-wise. We have to be good stewards, if you would, of the budget. We have to ensure we're spending the money wisely, effectively. We have to make sure that our goals are smart. We have to make sure that we are ensuring student success. And we're providing quality academic programs throughout our schools, creating conditions in which teachers are valued, support staff are valued, in which we welcome everybody to help us in this endeavor that we're facing now with all over the place. Every time I turn on the news or I look something online about schools and education in our country, I see anywhere that we've got a 2 to 3 year academic gap. We lost, we regressed. If I see this one more time, I'm just gonna turn off the internet, I think. But getting to the point that we have to face reality, and we need to do that now.
One more time, please.
What responsibilities do board members have regarding advocacy?
Yeah, when you become a school board member, you take an oath, right? You take an oath to fulfill the responsibilities and duties of the school board. And with that is advocating for the students, advocating for the teachers, and making sure that the students have the tools and the tools necessary to learn, to receive the education and while they're here. And for teachers, you want to advocate for teachers to make sure that they have the tools necessary to teach. But at the end of the day, I'm also a private citizen. And so outside of my role as a board member, I have the responsibility, or I have the rights to advocate for other things that I may feel appropriate to my personal beliefs. And so I don't think a board member should be pigeonholed into supporting or advocating a certain measure that's being pushed by an overall school board if they don't agree with. But at the same time, it's always a priority of a school board member to advocate for their students to learn and their teachers to be able to teach.
This question was submitted by Leanne Migray, pardon the pronunciation. A hot topic for the public right now is recovering learning loss and improving test scores. We all know that teachers and support staff are our greatest resources in public education. How do you plan to support them while also honoring their extensive education and experience? Dr. Dowling, you're first.
Yeah, we need to ensure that, first of all, this COVID pandemic punched us right in the face. It's just like somebody in a heavyweight boxing match. You prepare for the fight, and then the first time you get punched, and all the preparations and all the training, everything you were fighting for or thinking about doing in the ring goes out the window. All you want to do is survive and somehow win that fight. We're coming out of the pandemic. We need to effectively train and retain quality teachers in our classrooms. We need to provide the support to our teachers. Recruitment of teachers and support staff. Ensure the curriculum focuses primarily on addresses reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and technology. I'm sorry if I said it before, because you're going to hear it again. We need to focus on that. We need to ensure our kids are capable and competent by the end of the school year to go to the next level. And as we do that, we have to think about our teachers, our support staff. I was the one that proposed a 6% increase this school year for our support staff. The people who live in our school neighborhoods. They may have gone to school in some of these schools and now they're working for us. And the same thing with a 4% increase for teachers, 2% for administration. We need to retain and recruit quality educators.
Repeat the question, please.
A hot topic for the public right now is recovering learning loss and improving test scores. We all know that teachers and support staff are our greatest resources in public education. How do you plan to support them while honoring their extensive education and experience?
Got it, thanks. Yeah, I feel like I'm a broken record up here. I've already touched on the subject. Teachers, to be a teacher, it's truly a calling. I really believe that. During the 6 months between my undergrad and postgraduate degree, and then for a year after my postgrad degree, I was a substitute teacher at a high school. And I'll tell you what, I'm not called to be a teacher. It is, and it's harder now than it was then. These teachers that give up their free time, give up their weekends to make sure that they're prepared on Monday morning to meet their class, their students with a smile or a hug and to try to focus on learning. They have to feel supported and they have to be able to teach. So the distractions that I mentioned earlier, the programs that remove that ability have to be weighed and measured, because if we're focusing on making up for learning loss and that's our number one priority, then that's the number one priority. And other things may need to go to the wayside for a brief moment until that's captured. And then we can slowly integrate them back into our curriculum. But we've got to support our teachers by making their jobs easier and not more difficult. And we've already lost, I think, as many teachers this year or administration staff as we did last year, and we're in October.
Ms. Moran?
Yeah, I think there are multiple ways that we can support our teachers and show our love and respect for them. I think money talks. So teacher pay and support staff pay is always on the forefront of my mind. And as I mentioned earlier, the average teacher in the Litchfield district makes $6,600 more than the average teacher in Arizona. Is that enough? No. Do we do the best that we can with the monies that we are given? Yes. A couple of things that we did this year and that we will evaluate and determine if we want to continue to show respect and support for our teachers is we implemented or hired additional instructional aides to allow teachers more time in their classrooms doing what they need to do and less time monitoring lunches or the drop off in the morning, those types of things. And each campus was able to determine how they wanted to use those resources. In addition, we hired contracted guest teachers so that substitutes who know the classrooms, know the campuses are available so that teachers feel more comfortable taking time off for medical reasons, doctor appointments, child has something at their own school, being able to take time off for those things and not feeling guilty about that. We also consistently offer time for our teachers to participate in professional development, and we offer a wide variety of those classes so that they can better themselves and better their ability to teach.
Mr. Owens, what do you see as the educational strengths in our district? And what do you see as the educational priorities for the district to face?
Yeah, educational strengths. I mean, that's kind of a broad question. Educational strengths. I mean, if you look at our test scores right now, I think math and reading, those are the two that get tested the most. But educational strengths is our community and their willingness to support our teachers willingness to focus on what needs to happen in their classrooms, their individual classrooms, to make sure that students, each student feels the opportunity to learn. And I think, did you say ask for a weakness as well?
No,
Okay.
I ask you that for the educational priorities for the district.
Yeah.
Which,
Weakness.
yeah, certainly could be a weakness that you're wanting to
Yeah.
address as a priority.
Education weakness is a weakness that unfortunately is facing our whole country, right? Because of learning loss. We are not at the standards we need to be. We're not proficient. We're below, and 50% or we're above average. That's a participation trophy. We need to make sure our students are at a level that they need to be, and not just at a level that's better than some.
Ms. Moran.
Yeah, this for me is an easy one. I think our biggest strength is our teachers and our staff members. They set us apart from other districts, and they are truly exceptional. They create an environment where everyone feels welcome and safe on our campuses, which is essential for our students to learn and achieve at their highest levels. Our teachers and staff truly care about their students, not only their academic achievement, but their overall well-being. The connections that I have seen between my own students and their teachers, and that I see every time I go onto a campus or into a classroom, are exceptional and rare in public school today. Our teachers and staff are the biggest supporters of student success every single day through their words and actions. And I am grateful for their hard work and dedication to all of our LESD students. In partnership with our teachers and staff, we have our amazing parents and families who thankfully now are welcomed with open arms to come back into our classrooms and our campuses. And I sent a letter out as governing board president right before fall break to let parents know some practical ways that they could get involved in their child's education, not only on campus, but ways that they can connect with other members of the community as well, and ways for them to know what's going on with their child's education, which they are obviously a very, very important partnership with us in the education process.
Thank you, Dr. Dowling.
Yes, I believe our strength is within ourselves. The people that we hire, we bring together, and the ones that stay with us. It's very rewarding when I went to the retirement ceremonies over at Tom Heck Middle School, and there was teachers there and support staff. Been there in this school district 30 years, 28 years, 25 years, 22 years, 20 years. One support staff person was 32 years. That's valuable. I hate to see them go. I'd like to say, can you stay another year or 2 or 6 months? I'd be happy. Just stay with us. Don't leave us. But it doesn't happen that way. We need to support the teachers. We need to, what I see when I visit the classroom and visit schools, and one of the worst things people can say to me is, oh, but by the way, why don't you come and visit me? Because I'll be there within 3 or 4 days. I'll be in that classroom. I'll be in that school. And what I see that what we're doing, meeting the physiological needs for the students, they feel safe. They're not hungry. They're clothed. They're not sick, and they come to us. You can't begin to learn unless those physiological needs are met, and we're doing that. And we're trying to do that on a daily basis, hourly basis, when the kids walk through our door every day at the beginning of the school year.
Okay, next question. Describe your ideal relationship with the superintendent and staff in the district.
Yeah. The ideal relationship between a board member and the superintendent is going to be one of respectful collaboration. It's really a relationship where hopefully you're both going to learn something at the end of the day. So every superintendent is different. I have had the privilege of working with Superintendent Gunning for my duration here on the board. And we have both learned from each other. We have disagreed at times. We have come to friendly agreements on some things, and we have just come to agree to disagree on other things. As a board member, one of our most important roles is to evaluate the superintendent. And that can be really challenging. If you've never done an evaluation of someone, it can be awkward and painful for all parties involved. But I think having open communication, consistent communication, honesty are all really important in that relationship, and accountability becomes part of that. So if you have a mutual respect, then you're able to hold each other accountable for each other's actions, because Superintendent Gunning has counseled me at times on things as well. And I'm here to learn, and she's here to learn as well. So it's very beneficial.
The governing board, if you would, if you could relate to this as a board of directors of a $100 million a year company, $110 million a year company. And as such, they recommend, or they say that this is what we want you to do. You need to carry it out. It has to be a relationship between the superintendent and the board that is open, honest, and transparent. You have to have give and take. You have to understand where they are. Do they understand the direction or what we're asking them to do? Because it can be very broad. The superintendent in her administration, her cabinet, so to speak, her directors, they have to take this down and see, this is what the board wants. Let's see how we can get this done. And that takes strategic planning, goal setting. And we have to constantly, as a board, not constantly, the superintendent needs to oversee and monitor and adjust what the board is asking to be implemented. If there's questions, if there's a misunderstanding or it's not clear, the superintendent has to come back to us and say, I need guidance or I need help. This is going to cost us more money than what we had talked about, but it has to be an open, honest, and transparent relationship. There's no other way to talk about it, no other way to do it.
Yeah, both are great answers, and I'm going to honestly agree with both of them. I like Ms. Moran's statement about the respectful collaboration, right? It's a two-way street. There's information being disseminated down and information being disseminated back. And just like Dr. Dowling mentioned, if you look at this as a business, this is the board of directors, and we have a superintendent who's in charge of implementing the goals and the intentions and the direction of the board. And that's their job. And how they do that is up to them to the most part. But if there's additional guidance that needs to be provided to the superintendent to fulfill those duties, then it's provided. And if there's feedback from the superintendent on, like Dr. Dowling mentioned, hey, I need additional resources, or this task that you've got me trying to accomplish isn't going to happen unless this and this and this happens, then that communication needs to happen. And Ms. Moran mentioned there needs to be accountability. The school board must hold the superintendent and the administration accountable for, for their performance. Just like in any business, if you have a president or a CEO of a business who's not performing and the numbers aren't there, then you need to evaluate that performance and you need to hold them accountable.
Thank you. That will end up being the final question of the forum today, and we will proceed to the closing remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. We drew lots beforehand, and it will go Ms. Moran, Mr. Owens, and then finally Dr. Dowling. Ms. Moran, you're first.
Thank you. Experience matters. I am clearly the best candidate based on my experience in 3 areas. Number 1, my leadership experience. Under my leadership as president, the board has made terrific strides towards collaboration. In the past 6 months, our meetings have been productive, efficient, and effective while allowing all board members, present or absent, the opportunity to participate in discussion and decision-making. Second, my financial experience. As a CPA for over 25 years, my applicable financial skills are unmatched. Knowledgeable, capable governing board members are essential to achieve and maintain accountability and fiscal responsibility of taxpayer dollars. And third, my public servant experience. My years of local service affirm my dedication to the continued improvement of our community and is evidence of my core values. This position is hard. Being a governing board member is challenging and difficult. I'm not going to lie. To do this job well, requires many unpaid hours every week. So why seek reelection? Because I am passionate about public education and I care about the future of this community, especially our most vulnerable students. I'm proud that all three of my children exclusively attended LESD schools. I'm proud to be part of the history of this district that spans over 105 years. The decisions this governing board makes over the next 4 years will impact our community for many years to come. I am Kimberly Moran, and I respectfully ask for your vote in the general election. My experience is unparalleled, and my ongoing commitment to LESD students, teachers, staff, and community is unwavering.
Mr. Owens?
Thanks. Voters right now are tasked with deciding which two of us you would like to vote for school board for this district. Also on your ballot is a vote, a yes or a no for a school override in Litchfield Elementary School District. Why is the override on this ballot? It's not because we need it or want it, we do, but it's because it failed last year. This vote was already put out to the voters in Litchfield Elementary School District and it failed. A survey was done and presented to this board about the constituents of this district and their feelings towards the override. And when that was presented to the board, it was shown that LESD and the taxpayers had a favorable opinion of the override and that based on those, it should pass. And I believe that study, I believe that poll was accurate. But there was a lot of things that weren't taken into consideration and things that kind of festered in the district from that poll until the ballots were sent out. On April 13th, the Litchfield Elementary School District was presented, the board was given a presentation on open meeting laws. 30 minutes after that open meeting law meeting, on this stage during public comment, Kim Moran chose to blatantly disrespect two members of our community by violating the open meeting law intentionally and holding up a sign that said not true. That action, the decision of her to openly violate open meeting laws had a direct impact on why the override failed. If you are a parent in this district and your child needs those programs from the override, you can blame that action that night. If you're a teacher who teaches a subject that's at risk because of an override passing, you can thank her for her actions that night. And this is why we have to vote again.
This is the good old why me portion of the candidate forum. Well, I'm going to tell you, experience does matter. And I have that experience. 30 years as a certified teacher. I've sat on that side of the board when the board's up here, and I sat over there as executive director for curriculum and instruction, assistant superintendent for curriculum in Tullison Union High School District. I was there for 13 years. I understand what it takes. I understand the struggles that the administration goes through when they are tasked to implement new programs, new ways to engage students, new ways. Can we be more successful in other ways? I understand the teachers coming to me and saying, I need help in the classroom. I've been there. I've went through the budget process many times. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be, everybody talks about transparency. First thing I came here is that the board says the administration is not transparent. And then I hear that the board is not transparent. I don't know who's transparent or not. What I do know is when I go to conferences and I talk to other people and I indicate that I am on the Litchfield Elementary School Board, and they will say, "What's wrong with you guys? You're violating the open meeting law." I said, "It's not me. We didn't do it. So it's not the total board. It's not the total board." You have the power to make a decision, to make a change that will impact this school district for the next 4 years. We're running out of time, folks. We need to get it right. Please. Thank you.
Let's give the candidates a round of applause. It is not easy to run for public office. It is not easy to get on the ballot. It is a challenge, and they deserve our respect and our thanks for being here today. And as an audience, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for your willingness to learn about these issues and follow on. Early voting's underway. You should receive your ballot if you haven't received it already, if you are on the mailing list. If you like to find the closest voting location where you can go and have a ballot generated for you, or you can drop off your ballot if you don't trust the mail, for example, or something like that. Locations.maricopa.vote. You can find any voting location and you can go to any one of them and you don't have tonight. The Litchfield Elementary School override continuation is on the ballot, as well as an Agua Fria Unified or Union High School District bond, and as well as the Agua Fria override continuation. All three of those issues are on the front of your ballot, sandwiched right between these school board races as well. So finally, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the Litchfield Elementary School District Educational Foundation, please feel free to visit us at www.lesdfoundation.org. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.